Hello, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of the More Magic Book Club podcast. I am joined by Marianne. Thank you for joining me.
Hi everyone.
So, today is a book club episode. If you're new here, these are full of spoilers because it's a book club. So, we assume that you have read the book and we are going to talk about all of it. So, if you don't want the book ruined, pause, read it, and come back. And today we are talking about the fifth season by N.K. Jemisin. And I was so excited for this one because it won a Hugo when it came out. Was it like 2017 or something? So this book has been one that's been like very hyped, that's been on my list for a while. And yeah, and this was your first time reading it as well.
Yes, N.K. Jemisin has been on my list for a really long time. So I'm glad I got to finally read one of her books.
Yeah, it definitely lived up to the hype. There's just so much happening. And it's kind of long. I mean, I guess you read a lot of Brandon Sanderson, so maybe not long for you, but long for what I normally read. Um, for just kind of a quick overview for everyone if you haven't read it for a while. So this is set in another world. I don't know if it ever says what the world is exactly. Um,
I don't think
but
so.
yeah, but there are humans and then there's orogenes. Is that how they pronounce it in the
hmm
audiobook? Yeah.
hmm
Orogenes that can control basically the earth. And a fifth season, which we'll talk about in a little bit, is basically like a volcano erupts and then there's ash and the sun goes away or something like that. And it's kind of like the end of the world and then how they survive that. And so this follows we'll get into all that. Well, there's just so much to talk about. But I did want to just start. So for this one, it's classified as dark fantasy, which I definitely agree with. This is definitely dark, much darker than a lot of the other books that we've read. Would you consider it grim dark, or do you think it's more just dark fantasy?
I would say probably dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Remind me, Demi, what is the difference between grimdark and dark fantasy?
See, so that's what I'm always curious about because my understanding is that dark fantasy is a world that's dark and kind of dystopian, but then there's still that theme of hope. Um, but then grimdark, maybe there's not the hope. Like it's like the you have the twisted characters and it's not as hopeful. I don't know. Everyone can quote us on that. But I was like trying to read because I was looking it up before this, and people were like, there was like a little debate online on if this was grimdark or not. And I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting to think about. Yeah.
You know what? I will say I think it's dark fantasy, not grimdark, based off of one key thing you said, which is the twisted characters, because it's the end of
Oh,
the
yeah.
world, but people are still pretty civilized.
Mm,
Like they're still like, I think she even talks about it like, oh, these are the people who still have hope that the world can be civilized. So we're still seeing people kind of behave under the rules of the social contract, even if their cities are broken down and stuff.
mhm.
And I like that. That was very calming for me because I hate when it's like, oh, the cities have broken down and the government has broken down and now it's anarchy and it's Mad Max Fury Road. So I'm like, oh, look, people are still behaving like human beings. That's nice. Like I
Yeah.
would like those people. So I think maybe dark fantasy.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Because yeah, it's there aren't. I mean, besides like the characters in Power, which we'll talk about, I feel like m most of the characters are very reasonable, and you can understand why they're doing something. It's
Yeah.
not just like pure like evil.
Like a worm has entered their brain and has eaten all the good parts.
Yeah,
Like some characters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, should we dive right in? You want to talk about the world and the magic and all of it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so well, I mean, just starting with the title, the fifth season, I thought it was really interesting because I love kind of like apocalyptic, you know, post-apocalyptic books or even like movies and stuff where the world is ending, like The Day After Tomorrow, or I don't know if you ever saw the movie
Great
Greenland.
movie. Greenland?
Yeah,
I mean, I love apocalypse movies, so I will put that on my to watch list.
it was good. It made me have like an existential crisis, so just be prepared. It was like a very intense. But yeah, I love like that kind of stuff. So then having it in a fantasy world was really fun. I really like that. So the fifth season is basically, as I said earlier, where it seems like it's mostly volcanoes where they erupt and then it's like a super volcano kind of event, and then the whole like place is covered, like it's becomes unlivable, and how
Yeah.
do people survive it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the Earth is extremely geologically active.
Hmm.
And so every once in a while, It's so geologically active that it destroys civilization, and then civilization has to start all over. The word she used was cataclysm, which I thought was interesting because that is a
Oh yeah.
key, that's a key plot for Brandon Sanderson's Stormlight Archive is cataclysms, but where like every several hundred years, like the civilization would be destroyed and they'd have to rebuild. But it was because of magical beings who would come on the planet and kill everyone, not
Mm,
because of geological activity. So there's a slight difference there, but I just think that's an interesting theme across two completely different stories is like, what if there was these cataclysms where society had to rebuild every single time from scratch?
mhm.
Interesting idea.
Yeah, well, and it was interesting because they also had because they had that, but then they also had the stone lore, which it seemed like was written in stone at one point. It kind of implied that it was like I was envisioning like these tablets of like
Same.
how to survive. Yeah. And it's unclear like how far back they go, and it seems like my interpretation of some of it was that the people in power are kind of choosing what becomes stone lore and what is forgotten. So I thought that
Yeah.
was also really interesting for the world as well.
Yes, I thought it was interesting because I think it's implied that, like, throughout the different civilizations, right now, when we enter the world, the origins are, or the raga, if you are a politically incorrect citizen, they are like hated pretty much and feared and, like relegated to very limited part of society or else they're killed. But it's kind of implied that through other iterations of society and civilization, they were actually like the heroes of those societies. But it's kind of like that part of history is kind of quelled, it sounds like.
Hmm. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting the way that it was structured. You get like bits of information, and we get to see like those different worlds through different like time periods in the book. Like when she's on the island, I don't remember what it was called, but there's the pirates. They view it very differently, like the magic, those magical gifts of the origins, so differently from like the fulcrum and the rest of the continent. That I really like that we got that little taste of like, oh wait, there is like this world, this other way of living out there. And it's also implied that there maybe are other continents too, but just like no one knows. And so I'm curious if in the rest of the series, if they go to those other continents and you kind of get to see, how people are handling all of that. Um, yeah, there was the world in this was just so, I mean, epic is like the word I want to use. Like it's just so big. And so, because there's also all of the political stuff too of the kids having to go to the fulcrum and then the guardians, but then we don't even know, we know like I believe there's an emperor, but we don't really know that much about that and what that looks like politically. So I feel like there's so much. This is definitely like the first book in a series. Like there's still so
Yeah.
much to explore.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think it's also implied that like it's because of this imperialist empire. I forgot they're called. They start with the letter S. It's like Savik.
Oh yeah, there's Sands.
Yeah, Sans, something along those
Yeah.
lines, where they pretty much like their culture has become the dominant culture, and
Hmm.
their culture, like they were very good at surviving, like the cataclysms, and they are the ones who are anti-Raga. And they're the
Hmm.
ones who've built this entire society around like the anti-Raga culture and anti-Raga laws and stuff. And so I thought that was, so you're right, like where they haven't reached as far, maybe those societies have different opinions on the Raga. I'm gonna say
Hmm.
Raga because it's just easier than Origins. I hope no Origins are offended by by my decision.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's used so, I mean, it definitely more at the end of the book, which I thought was also an interesting, like, stylistic transition that you start to then feel it becomes like less formal and just more, um, I don't even know the word. Yeah, you just like are more in that world. So like I feel like we become less formal because we're in the world more. I don't know. I think it's really interesting. But there's also, besides the origins or the ragas, um, we have the stone
Demi,
eaters.
how could you?
I was like, what?
It's okay,
Yeah.
guys. She's with me. She could say it because I'm a Raga, so it's just take this part out, take this all out.
No, I'm gonna keep all of it, including you. Never mind. Gosh. But yeah, so there's the Stone Eaters, which I thought was interesting because we see it from so we saw Hoa, is that how they pronounce the name?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, Hoa.
Yeah.
I believe we see him be born in the very beginning of the book, and then she meets him later. And if I'm like, because
I did not make that connection.
there was like, I'm pretty sure that was him. I like want to like look, but there was, I think he was in the prologue, or is it a prologue? But there's like a moment where, am I making this up? I swear, where there's like a boy that's born and it like from like a stone. Do you remember that? I
I
think
thought it
that was
was
him.
okay, that makes sense. I thought it was Jija. But like I thought
Oh,
she meant it metaphorically. That's what I thought was happening, but that makes a lot more sense.
yeah.
Something I do like about N.K. Jemisin's writing style is she does almost no exposition. She just kind of like, and you
Yeah.
have to be such a talented writer to do this, where you kind of, as the reader, pick up the pieces of what each thing means over time. So, but sometimes that means missing the important pieces in the beginning, and you have to go back and be like, oh, yeah, that's what she meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I it stuck with me because I think it was right around, maybe it was right after the chapter where you learned that her son died. And so I was like, oh, was he reborn as this
Yeah.
like in this stone? Like, is this what this was? And so I was like waiting for that, but then I was like, oh, it's this other kid.
It's,
I don't even know how old he was
yeah.
supposed to be, but yeah. But the Stone Eaters are interesting because we don't really get much information on who they are, what they are, like other than they travel through the earth and they are kind of immortal or they live for a very long time.
So they probably have a better idea of what the heck has been happening than any human race because they
Mhm.
survived the cataclysms probably a lot better than the humans do.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
thought they were really interesting.
Yeah, I thought so too. I wanted more of that, which again, I think that's probably going to happen in the rest of the series.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Because yeah, and it was interesting because their teeth were described as like looking like diamonds.
And sharp.
Yeah. I was like trying to just like picture it and yeah, it's like very very
And
unique.
they also have like an interesting like they are not a very like social group.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like you get the sense that they actually are very what's the word? Like territorial, like they're a territorial people.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Right?
that's
They're
true.
like, that's mine, she's mine. No,
Yeah.
she's like, and that per like they kind of claim they're humans, it sounds like.
Yeah. In my mind they were kind of like cats, like almost like kind of having like cat personalities, like loners, but like baring their teeth.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because I think at one point it was described like he hissed like a cat, and I was like, okay, they're kind of like cats.
Makes sense. Someone has Agnes Aubert's mystical cat shelter on the brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything's cats
Yeah.
now.
But yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, like I was thinking of something like yeah, some they're not like they don't have like the human culture. It's not like they're like human but make them aliens. It's more like they
Yeah.
are actually different inherently than we are.
Yeah, completely different beings.
Yeah.
One of my theories is that the obelisks, is that, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, that they're created by the Stone Eaters. That's my like pet theory for the rest of the series. Because but then I guess that wouldn't make sense because that like civilization went extinct. But I thought that was really interesting from like the world magic system perspective as well, that we get like little tastes of these past cultures and past civilizations, and they seem more advanced. And but then
Yeah.
like they're not around, and so you're like, well, what happened? You know? And
Yeah.
I like that kind of like hanging question of like, ooh, like, yeah, I want to know, like, I want to know more about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the world building was really good here. And like the mystery and the intrigue of like what is it like when society collapses and then like there's these leftovers, but you have no tools to figure out what it is. Like it's just intriguing.
Hmm. Yeah, and they're all like kind of always prepared for the end of the world too. Like they all have their bags and like food stored, and yeah, it's like taking like the prepper mindset like to the extreme. Only it's like very validated.
Yeah.
It's very valid in that like world.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um yeah. Yeah, it was so interesting. I've never read anything quite like this with like where the like actual environment plays such a strong role in the story. Like the
Yeah. The earthquakes are a character, like a main character.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of something that's never been done before, what do you think of the plot twist of Asun versus the Maya versus Cyanide?
Yeah, it was so when I put a comment on the story graph buddy read. I totally thought all of these were happening at the same time. I don't know if you thought that, like
Yeah.
like the timeline, but when you learn, I think you learn that Demaya and Sen are the same first, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well that I guess that makes sense. I did not like then I was like, well, is the other one too? Like immediately I was like, oh, are they
Yeah.
all? Um but because I was like, well, maybe my like where I thought it was going, and I'm like still kind of sad it didn't happen. I thought it was going to be the Cyanide. How did they say it?
So it's Cyanide in the Audible and then Cyan for her nickname.
Oh, cyan. Okay,
Yeah.
cyanide. Wow, that's not how I pronounce it at all. So cyan, cyan, because there was like the point where she's with Alabaster and they're like in the I think Aliyah, and they're there, trying to do the choral stuff, and then I knew from Essun's perspective that it was like the fifth season, like the end of the world, and it happened kind of near the fulcrum. So I was like, ooh, what I thought was gonna happen was that they were not the same person, and that Alabaster and Cyan were gonna go and blow up the fulcrum, which it ends up that he did that. But I thought that they were gonna do that together, and then Essen was like gonna like have to go and like. So that was my theory. So
Yeah.
then when it turned out that all three of them were the same, I was like a little sad because I was like, man, I really want her to be the one to go, like, destroy everything. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That
I
was
kind
another plot twist was that Alabaster is the destroyer of the world. So
yeah.
he was the one.
I feel like that may like well, as I said, I was kind of hoping for that. But I
Yeah.
wanted to like go with them to like be on that journey and see it happen.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think so for me, I was so confused because I was like, I thought this was just a really interesting twist because as a epic fantasy reader, you're so used to POVs. So like it's like you
Yeah.
come in and you know it, like you're used to this model, which is like different POVs telling the same story but from a different POV. But then I was
Hmm.
confused because Essun would be like, and now that humanist has been utterly destroyed, there is no humanist. But then Cyanite just left humanist and everything is fine, and Demaya is in humanist, and there's like no evidence whatsoever that things are astray. So I was like, is
Yeah.
this? So I was like, it was one of my theories is like, are they the same person? I'm not sure. So I was like, I wouldn't say I was smart enough to put that in together, but I was open-minded to like what's gonna happen. I thought maybe it was like it's different historical time periods. Alabaster, I
Hmm.
thought was really interesting because he's like, like the one, like the chosen one in the sense, like he's so
Yeah.
powerful, but he's so broken. And I thought it was really funny. I don't know if she did this on purpose, but like his nickname is Baster, which sounds like a bad word that I won't say so we don't get flagged on the internet. But like, why would you do that? Like, he wasn't. I don't think he was a Baster, but but like he. But I just thought that I was like, is she trying to say something? I mean, he ends up being the one to destroy the planet. So I mean, I'll let the
Yeah.
reader decide what they want to decide for him.
Yeah, I loved his character kind of from the beginning because we first see him when Cyan has to go and have sex with him, and he's like essentially like, I really don't want to.
Yeah. It's like the
And
least sexy scene I've ever read in my entire life.
I
It was
know.
very well done in how bad it was.
Yeah, and because it just felt sad. Like you felt
Yeah.
like the sadness of the situation. And
Yeah.
and I love that he was like, I don't want to. And then he was like really revealing all of the information, like showing her how corrupt everything was, because she just believed all of it, which makes sense because then when we learn that Demaya is her backstory, like you can see she didn't have anything, so she like really like adopted that identity and like believed it because
Yeah.
I mean her parents just like called someone in to take her, and yeah, that would be so traumatizing and damaging. And like I love that he challenged that for her, and he just wanted to like live this life, and then but they won't let him go. I just thought his story was so it that I just like loved it. Yeah, I really
Yeah.
liked it.
It
Yeah.
was really heartbreaking to like it shows how badly he does not want to procreate when they show what happens to his kids.
Yeah.
Like
Oh.
I thought like I was like, "Oh, I bet he's gay," is what I thought it was. I was like, "Oh, he just
Mhm.
ha but he has to do his duty kind of thing." But then you like learn later it's not just because he's queer. It's also much worse reason, which is that like his kids are used in unspeakable
Mhm.
ways. So I kind of understood why he destroyed the world at the end, why he destroyed the fulcrum. But I don't know, very ethically ambiguous. Like, should you destroy a world that harms your children? I understand it from both sides. Because
Yeah.
not, so like I don't even want to get into it because it is such a nuanced ethically ambiguous like dilemma that like philosophers much smarter than me go back and forth on. But she was like the themes that she brought up were very complex and difficult to deal with.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like the whole book was just discomfort and just feeling, yeah, like that, like the I kept having hope and then it's like it'd be squashed. Because there was a moment where Shafa, her guardian, when she first, I don't know if that's, is that how they pronounced it? Yeah.
Yeah, good job.
Okay. Okay. Where they're like she first goes with him and he's like being kind to her and like, and I was like, oh, I'm so happy she has someone who's like support. And then he
Right.
breaks her hand.
Yeah,
It was
this
like literally
fool.
the same chapter. And I was like,
And then he's like,
why?
I love you. And then
I
he's like, I
know.
after he breaks her hand, I'm like, oh, this is not healthy. This is not
No.
healthy. And then so far it's the only person who's ever loved her, like, or who has like it's her parent. So like imagine what that does to a person's mind.
Yeah, it was so, oh yeah, I like did not think it was gonna go there. And I was so sad. It was like every time it's like, oh, I'm so excited. Like I like this person, I like this
Yeah.
situation. And then they're like, no, everyone dies. And
Yeah.
they find them. And I was like, just man, fine. It was so
You
hard.
know who I did like and I'm really interested in her as a character is Tonki.
Yeah, I thought she was really interesting. What was the name? When
I
they met
cannot
Binoff or something?
I cannot remember. I just remember her being royalty.
Yeah,
She was royalty, like she's like part of
like
the
the
emperor's
leader.
family, or yeah, she's from a
Yeah,
like, or she's like yeah, from the political class, like the politically ruling class.
yeah.
Obviously entitled, was about to get a bunch of. She got people killed, but but I really like. I don't know. She just seemed interesting to me. I would read more of her.
Yeah, I'm curious how she ended up like kind of being calmless and because when we see her as an adult, she's a mess. And
Yeah,
like the way because I noted the description of her, it was like she's dirty, but not in a way that's from like the recent disaster. Like it's been there for like years. And it's like, how did
yeah.
she end up in that situation? Like coming from such a well-to-do family,
It
you know?
it almost reminded me of like the description she gave almost reminded me of like our homelessness crisis. Did you get that vibe?
Yeah, that's because I think she's supposed to be homeless. Well, she's like living in
Yeah.
the cave. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I wonder if it's some kind of I wonder if it's some kind of costume that she wears because it's like it's said
Mm,
that she's like a really good a disguiser, like disguise wearer for like her own ends. She's like an academic at heart and she or maybe not even academic. She's like a truth seeker at heart and she has to know what's going on and she'll go to any length to get it. But also like it could be because of her family rejecting her because she's trans. But also her family already
oh,
rejected her by just sending her to become a geoist or what are they called?
I think geomist. Yeah.
Geomist. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
so they had already rejected her in that way. So how did she fall from being a geomist to being homeless? Like
Yeah.
if she is even homeless. Or is she
Yeah.
homeless by choice? Like,
Yeah, it
So
kind of seemed like it was by choice, but because she said that she was essentially stalking Essen, like tracking her to know where she was. Um,
she's crazy,
so
but in a way that I don't mind.
yeah, I feel like all of the characters are crazy, which kind of makes sense because the world is insane. Like it's
Yeah.
like, how could you be sane in that world? It's so
Right.
messed up.
Yeah, speaking of which is crack. Like and
Yeah.
literally her name is crack because her insanity is the kind that could crack at any moment, right? Is
Mhm.
like why they call her that.
Yeah, and like when she I thought that was also crazy too, because she, wait, who was it? Oh, Demaya. It was in Demaya's point of view. She goes to her to um, have an ally from the bullying, and then it turns out that actually she's leading all of it. But then there was like this thing with alcohol and like sexual assault, and it turned out to be very like just heartbreaking, the whole
So
situation.
much worse than what, like, so much worse than what any of us were expecting. And
Yeah.
like Crack went along with it with Demaya because she thought that she could control the other guy from ever saying what happened.
Mm,
Right? So Crack thought that she could like play her cards intelligently because the guy would never rat on Crack. And
hmm.
then in the end, Crack was almost justified because she does disappear. She's
Yeah,
probably turned into a node,
I
uh,
know.
is probably
Yeah.
what happens.
It seems like that was the implication I got. And yeah, that was also just so from the building perspective, I was horrified. Like I think that was interesting just to like because I can't go into the emotional part of it too much because it's so intense. But to think about it from like the like actual like world building structure perspective, it's a perfect way to show the magic and also like the just inhumane aspects of the world like in one specific instance because you see like the child torture, but then also it's connected directly to like the magic and their instinctual magic, which I thought
Yeah.
was really creative, but it was so heartbreaking and just so hard
Yeah.
to think about.
And then also the inhumanity drives others to do inhumane things for
Mm,
like, and I think maybe we could talk about the theme here, which is that you
yeah.
brought up, which is survival. Like
Yeah.
people will like, is it worth being driven to inhumanity for the sake of your own survival?
Hmm.
A big
I feel like,
question.
yeah, I feel like that's like often a theme in survival books or movies is will you will you turn on other humans in order to survive and
Yeah.
like lose your how much are you going to cling to your humanity when it means that you might die or you might be
Yeah.
tortured or
Yeah.
controlled or enslaved in this case. And this really grappled with that a lot. And we see as in like I don't know which name to use for her, but we see her like throughout the book kind of grappling with that and like in each of the different perspectives it's like she's learning to just obey as Demaya and then with Cyan she's learning to like break it and ignore it and then like she's kind of just like just over it and I think that like in the Essen perspective is when she's crazy like that's when she's like broken so far and like just can't deal with any of it anymore and
Yeah.
yeah, thinking
She,
about it
she,
from like a survival perspective, like anyone would break under those conditions, you know?
right. She only has one goal by the time is which is save her daughter. And so
Hmm.
maybe that's actually probably something we'll see is like how far will Esun go? Like from all the lessons she learned, will she give up her humanity to save her daughter? She kind of already made a big mistake when she killed her
Mm.
whole entire freaking town.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah, it's like on the one hand I can understand because if the magic is tied to fear and like threat, which is what they said, like it's like a defensive protective instinct, like then it's like, well, she's already broken. She hasn't slept for a while. She just like saw her kid like died and she sat next to him for days and didn't eat. So she's like already like not in control of herself and then that happens it's like it makes sense that it happened but also yeah like that's not the way to have any friends in the
Yeah.
future
And yeah, and like make everyone really mad at you because you killed everyone they love. Yeah, she's like already at a state of psychosis and she's powerful. So
yeah.
like it's also you're mad at the people who did it. You're like, why would you be so stupid? She's trying to get out of this place, dude. Like, why are you keeping her in here longer? Like the leader was smart. He's like, get out of here and I'll help you get out of here. Like that's like
Yeah.
if you see an unstable person who has the power to destroy worlds and they are in a state of psychosis, what you want, don't try to kill them because they are powerful. Get them out of your town. Like, that's what you should have done. So, yeah, that was
That's such a
interesting.
good point. Yeah, because there's if they're so scared of them to where they're willing to just like kill kids because they have this power, why were they doing that? Why didn't they just let her leave?
I don't know. I think. I don't even know what NK Jemison's trying to say, but like yeah, they feel like they can kill origins, but if an origin
Mhm.
doesn't want to be killed by a mere human, they will not be killed by a mere human. Like
Yeah.
so unless like the only people who can control origins are the guardians. So like and that actually takes me to our next theme, which is what is human nature?
Just very light topics
Yeah, yeah,
from this book.
yeah.
Yeah, I know. I thought I that was something I kept thinking about because there's it's unclear in the book because we're in her perspective and she's saying we're origins, we're not human. But other people are like, no, you are human. You just have this special gift, basically. And so, but then you have the Stone Eaters who aren't human. Like reading it, I'm like, okay, which is true, but I think that they are human. It's just that they're, have these special powers. But then the book is like exploring like what does that mean? And there are, I think it's in Cyan, her perspectives where like she's just really much like, well, I'm not a human. I'm just here to do what the Fulcrum wants me to do and to
Like she accepted her non-human, her subhuman status.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And you see them creating that, but then like the Guardians are almost like superhuman. Like they're positioning themselves as gods over like these other people. Like, well, I decide if you live and die. Like I decide if you are in control enough to exist on this
Yeah.
earth, which
I mean,
is
they're the slave owners,
yeah.
is essentially what they are, right?
But then they had to be a kid. Don't they have to be born to origins, but they don't have the magic?
Yeah, they are born. I know, I think they're born as origins, but I think there's some kind of like scientific procedure that's done to the
Yeah.
back of like their spine. I feel like it was like something very sci-fi,
Yeah.
like
They
we
have
don't
like a
see that
chip or
sci
something.
yeah, like
Yeah.
something sciencey like that to quell their powers and give them power over others.
Yeah. I was a little confused about how that worked. There was like, I know when we did the high fantasy episode, we talked about how sometimes you have to read the high fantasy again just to
Yeah,
understand what you just read. I feel that
yeah,
way with this one a little bit, where I'm like, okay, what exactly? I missed the details of that.
right.
But yeah, because that thinking about the human nature, would we say the Guardians are human? Like I don't know, because it just feels like they're made into not humans and they don't have
I,
any empathy.
yeah, I feel like it's like hierarchy. So like the regular humans are get human status, and then the guardians are a little bit lower, and then the origins are at the bare bottom. They're non-humans. Because I think she mentions in the book like, oh, who runs the origins? The guardians. But do you really think that like the powers that be would let the guardians be the actual leaders? No, there's like someone over them. And that's
Hmm.
probably some of the political class or something. So, something I think interesting about human nature, I do not know what N.K. Jemisin is trying to say. I really had a hard time understanding this, and if anyone has any ideas, please let me know. But unlike real life, like in real life, we have prejudice, but those cases of prejudice are never actually justified. Of course,
Hmm.
obviously, prejudiced people listening will be like, yes, it is, but I'm not interested in those people. In general, like powers, like all things being equal, every human is equal to another. Like all things, like we're like, yeah, some are smarter than others, some are stronger than others, but no one actually has the power to destroy worlds.
Hmm.
So in this world, I almost understand the prejudice. Like, I don't think you should be. I don't think hatred is ever the way to deal with someone who has the power. I just don't. That's just not my philosophy in life. Is you don't hate people for who they
Hmm.
are. You love people even if they have these like cataclysm causing powers. But it's like very like it's not a like this is was not a one for one comparison between the prejudice of our world and the prejudice of this world. Like not to bring it back to Brandon Sanderson, but Brandon Sanderson in the Stormlight Archive, like there's prejudice, but it's like light eyes versus dark eyes. Like that's
Hmm.
like it is a one for one comparison between our world and their world. Like
Hmm.
you could draw the metaphor really easy one to one. This one I don't quite understand what she was trying to say. Do
Hmm.
you, Demi, have any idea why like the people being prejudiced against are actually like really powerful?
Hmm. Well, what I think is interesting is that when we meet oh, what's his name? Enon? Is that his name? The pirate
Oh,
captain.
yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, because he's an origin, but he doesn't have his power is not as, sharp as theirs. And so my thought was that in being afraid of it, they turn them into weapons and make them something that's more threatening. Whereas if they had accepted them from the beginning and like embrace it kind of with love and compassion, then maybe they would grow up and their power might be more wild and raw, but it's not as dangerous in that sense. Like kind of thinking about um someone who's physically strong, like to equate it to our world. Like there could be someone who's physically strong, and if you turn them into a weapon, like then they react to any situation with anger and they start like attacking people. Isn't that the whole premise of Con Air, that one movie? Anyway, but then but if you treat them with love and compassion and empathy and like, yeah, you're a human, like
Acceptance.
yeah, like they're
Yeah.
not going to like explode and use their physical force in the same way. Like that's the only way that I could equate it to our world. I'm also curious if that's maybe something that the larger series like reveals, if it's just we
Yeah.
just get the taste of it in this book.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks. That's really helpful because in the Audible it's Inin is how they
Oh,
pronounce it. But
okay. Yeah.
yeah, but you're right because Inin he when he was a little boy, if he they were as dangerous as what they said, of course little boys get angry, toddlers get angry. The island is still
Yeah.
standing.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
and they
even
still
with the
love him.
son, what was his name? Crew?
I
Crew?
cannot remember the boy's name.
Think it's Kuru or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, he was like 3 or so, and yeah, he's living on a fault line. Like essentially, to me, it was like the Ring of Fire in the Pacific Ocean, that's
Yeah.
very active. Um, and if they were that dangerous, and they're arguing like, well, you have two trained origins here to help you. But they never, I mean, we were never presented with a situation where it was like, oh no, he's having a meltdown and the world is melting.
Like run for your lives, villagers!
Yeah.
Like the toddler's having a tantrum, and now like the island is sinking.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I think, and I hadn't really thought about this until right now. And so I'm like, this is just literally me just thinking out loud. But yeah, I think it is interesting to think that because of the fear and the prejudice, it actually made the situation for everyone so much danger, which I do think is paralleled in our world. Like anytime we have situations where you're just reacting out of fear and prejudice and like an us versus them, everything's more dangerous for all of us, all of humans, versus if we treat each other with like love and respect and like, hey, you're a person too. We can be different, but we're all a part of this world. Yeah.
Yeah. The us versus them is so dangerous. It's such like it's such human nature, like tribalism.
Hmm.
Like in group versus out group. It's like so innate to human nature, but it's like such a dangerous part of human nature.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's like in this book, that definitely feels like the most dangerous aspect. It's not even that
Yeah.
they have the powers, it's how we human the rest of humans who don't have them, because I don't have them. So I'm
I
like
of course I already identify as a raga, but if
so
only.
yeah, but like how the rest of people react to it is what makes it so dangerous. And
Yeah.
I am curious in the rest of the series. It's hard because it's the first book of a series that we know is like such a like iconic series, and I'm sure it's all answered in the later books. Um, but yeah, there must be something with the political system that's creating this. And the interesting thing is we don't really see like capitalism. Like it's, well, actually, no, I guess that the fulcrum, they are charging to go and clean up the coral and stuff.
Yeah, and it's
So,
like bankrupting that little village.
yeah.
They said it would take like 50 years to pay it or something. So it's a monopoly too. That's also interesting. It's actually a monopoly of the trained origins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Oh, yeah, I am curious how it goes in the rest of the series. I bet that all that
Yeah,
becomes more
you're
dominant.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Another thing, yeah, that I thought was really interesting in this book, which we've seen in a few books we've read recently. So I don't know what this, we like always attract like common themes. It's so funny. But was like the idea that they're manipulating history by choosing what aspects of stone lore they keep versus don't keep. And because there are, I think it's Alabaster will say like, well, there's the implication that, oh, there's more out there than what they're sharing with us. And
Yeah.
the other civilizations survived in different ways. And maybe other civilizations survived and we don't even know that they did because they're like not here or they're, or what they did.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I also thought that that was an interesting theme of like having this stone lore that everyone knows, which even for, I think, Tonki, when they meet when they're younger. Oh no, it was one of the kids when she's in like in her like in the fulcrum at training. They're like, "Oh, you're like Loris like actually talked about stone lore." Ours was just telling like fun adventure stories basically.
Yeah, like
And
pop lore.
yeah. So I thought that was also yeah, just like thinking about story and how that's also contributing to her perspective of her as not human and as a threat. Like she viewed herself as dangerous. And
Yeah.
yeah, and part of that was because of the way that they were presenting this historical information too.
Yes, and actually that reminds me of a really interesting scene with Shafa telling the story of like the bad guy versus the good guy, like the first emperor.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
she saw herself as the good guy, but then Shafa's like, "No, no, no, you're the bad guy." And she's like, "Oh, I don't like this story anymore." They're like, and I thought that was so sad. That was a really sad scene. I was like, "Man, what a bad foster parent this guy is gonna be."
I know. Yeah, that made me really sad. But then later, I think Alabaster tells her the story, and it's like, no, like the Aura gene was coming because they killed his family or
Oh, no,
something.
no, it's much worse than that, Demi. They cannibalized his family.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because it was like the teeth season or something like that, or
Yeah.
the eating season. Yeah, yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, because it was like then like
Ugh.
for a delicacy.
I
I was like,
blocked that out of
this
my
book had like
memory.
everything. Yeah, I did too. You're like, no, no, no. This is
I like
it's even
blocked it out
worse.
until you said it, and I'm like, oh no, shoot, the memory's coming back.
Yeah, I feel like this had like truly all of the worst aspects of human nature in this book. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, which is like to the question of like, what is human nature? Do Is that human nature or is that just how humans react under oppressive conditions?
Yeah.
And
And why maybe it is grimdark because like with grimdark you never see I mean, I don't know, but like why like there are humans who will give up their life because they'd rather give up their life than their humanity. Like that is a
Mhm.
fact. We have seen that time and time again, like in the like Holocaust, for example. How many people were non-Jews, non-Romani, not willing to die because they were willing to like smuggle Jews out of the country. Like
Mhm.
Viktor Frankl says, like in Man's Search for Meaning, the best of us did not return. Like he said, like we in the camps saw the people who were willing to die before they lost their humanity. So we know they exist. How come we don't see them in this book? So
Yeah.
like maybe that is kind of how I distinguish between grimdark and dark fantasy is like grimdark usually you only see the people who have no scruples like willing to do
Yeah.
anything to survive. Like it's a type of person, it's like a type of value or life philosophy. But in real life, you have that. You have that, but you also have people who are the opposite of that. And like
Mhm.
that's just planet Earth. That's society. So, and we don't
Mhm.
really, do we really see anyone who's like good to their core?
No, and I think that that's why I was disappointed. I mean, the closest probably is Tonki, but
Yeah.
I was disappointed when Esun and Cyan ended up having like when I learned that they had the same perspective because I was hoping that Cyan would go and that would be her arc that she would like realize like, oh, actually I do have agency. I am human. I'm gonna go end the fulcrum, like end this. And then like Essence like the aftermath. I was like hoping for that, which I'm assuming will be like again later in the series. Um, because that was to me what her POV was until we find out that she's the same person. I was like, it feels like she's like learning that and maybe will become that person.
I
Um,
think so. By the way, that's my prediction for the
yeah.
series is that Etsun will be the one who like draws a line in the sand and is like, some things are more important than life.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, because some of her decisions so far.
And
Yeah.
not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. And another theme that I thought was interesting, which we've kind of talked about a little bit, is identity. And I loved how she explored this in this book from the perspective of being oppressed because we see Demaya and then Cyan like having this perspective of who she is and herself from what other people are telling her. And I thought that was just a great way to present identity. And then we see Essen start to grapple with that when her kid, like when her son dies, and then she's like, well, I've been all these other people, but no, I'm the mother. I have to be the mother because my daughter's still out there and she needs her mother. And she's really grappling with like, well, who am I in this world? And like part of her is wanting to maybe be more destructive and more, but she's like, no, I still have to be the mother. And then we like in the other points of view, we see her, yeah, like her identity changing, but it really is informed by like what other people are telling her, which I thought was, and when you do find out that they're all the same character, it's interesting to see her then kind of grappling with, well, who am I? And I'm assuming that this is like in the rest of the series as well, because she has to go from like other people telling her who she is to like choosing who she is, but she's kind of struggling with that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
Interesting and very true to life.
Yeah.
Um, like you and I were literally just having a conversation about I like, me being pregnant, you being a mom too with a 2-year-old, is
Hmm.
that like society starts to treat you differently.
Hmm.
And like now I am how like we are encompassing the role of mother in society. And
Yeah.
like, and so people treat us differently and then we respond differently. And so it's so interesting how like your identity changes based on how people like perceive you and treat you, which is interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, well, and it's crazy that it ends up being the same person because in the beginning she has so much grief around her son's death. But then when we see from science perspective, she doesn't want kids. And so then you like get to also see that evolution for her too. Yeah.
Yeah. And that is an interesting thing that I would like to see in predictions because that means Esun has lost 2 kids now.
Hmm.
One at her own hands and one
Yeah.
by her husband's hands. And I thought that was really like that was an interesting take by N.K. Jemisin. Um,
Yeah.
I'm just like curious. Of course, like you said, of course, anyone would break under these circumstances. But I'm so curious to see what's going to happen. Of course, she has like a one-track mind, which is I have one child on this planet left. She's
Hmm.
going to. Is she going to like? What is she going to do to save that child? I would like to see that.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are your predictions?
Yeah, I think that I'm hopeful, which so far has not worked in this series, so this
Yeah.
probably won't happen. But I'm hopeful that she actually finds her daughter and she's alive. I'm hopeful. Um, predictions, I feel like, yeah, like you said, she's gonna have to draw a line in the sand. I mean, they're saying that this season's gonna last thousands of years, so
Yeah.
they're gonna have to learn how to survive in really harsh conditions. So there's probably more violence that's going to happen. Um, yeah, but I'm hoping that they kind of create a new way of coping with it and the obelisks because they're saying that the sockets that they
Hmm.
found create those and they're connected to and they're these such sources of power. I'm like I think that they must connect to surviving the season somehow. Like maybe they can harness that
Mm.
energy to grow crops. I don't know, whatever you need to do to survive. But I feel like there's something there. Yeah. But at the end, the very last like line is like, have you heard of the moon or something like that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I completely forgot about that. I'm like, what?
Yeah. So
Intrigue.
I'm like, do they go to like space? Do they go to the moon? So I don't know because that just kind of came from nowhere. So I don't really know what that means.
Or maybe, okay, my prediction is because our moon has like a lot of gravitational pull on planet Earth and stuff. So maybe it has something to do with that. Like the moon can offset the geological activity of their planet or something.
Mm,
But like
yeah.
maybe there's something blocking the moon right now. Like I don't
Yeah.
know. My prediction is because I jumped ahead when I was trying to decide if I want to finish reading the series. Is I read the synopses for both books, like the 2 books that come
Oh, you did.
after.
Oh, okay. So you like know more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not the plot, just the like you know how like on Goodreads like
Oh,
the
like the
little
back cover copy kind of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I think that the hope is going to be in Essun's daughter. Well, like I think Essun's
Oh, okay.
daughter is gonna have to choose what kind of person she wants to be. and either she's going to make the right decision or the wrong decision, and I have no idea what she's going to choose. But I think
Oh,
like the
interesting.
fate of the world is going to be in her daughter, and her daughter has to choose.
So does the second one, is her daughter the main character? Could you
Her
tell?
doctor is, her daughter is one of the POVs, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. So then we get to find out what happened with her and if
Right.
her husband's still alive. And
Yeah. And
yeah.
like, did he really like? What if he didn't kill him?
Oh my gosh. That would be crazy if he ended up not.
She owes him a big apology if she didn't kill him. Like a big apology.
Yeah. Hope. Oh, that kind of gives me hope. Now you've given me hope, and then it's be like, no, it was worse. And like,
Maybe
yeah,
I'll
I
read it
like
and I'll let
that.
you know.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with the moon because I love a good like, moon situation, like space. I love space things.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And moons are just cool. Like moons are magic. We all know this. So
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final thoughts on the fifth season?
I keep going back and forth between if I want to finish the series or not because it was so sad.
Yeah.
After speaking with you, I kind of want to finish it. But maybe I'll start it and I'll let you know. How about you?
Yeah, same. Kind of same. Yeah, because I liked it and I'm curious what happens. I feel like I want to go and talk to people who have read it and just ask like, okay, can you tell me like how dark does it get? Like, am I
Yeah.
ready? Am I in it's spring right now? Is now the time for me to
Yeah.
read the dark, depressing book? Maybe I wait until Halloween and read it then. Like I feel like that feels like kind of more the vibe, maybe.
Okay.
So we'll see. But yeah, there was so much to think about with this book. And I kind of want to go read some analysis of it and just see what other people think because it's so complex and it won the Hugo and yeah,
Yeah.
there's just so much.
The themes are so complex, I don't even know where to begin. So I would love to
Yeah.
read some people smarter than me. I'd love to read their take.
Yeah,
Yeah.
same. Yeah. Yeah, well, it was fun. I'm glad I read it because it's definitely the world building is so fascinating and the characters were, I mean, they end up being the same person, some of them, but they were all so good and I was invested in all of them and also the side characters too. So I'm glad we read it. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me for this discussion. And thank you everyone for listening. As always, if you enjoyed this, please make sure you subscribe or share this with your friend who's read the fifth season and tell them to like share their thoughts with us if they read the rest of the books, if we should read the rest of the series. And we will see you next time. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.